So I came across these pictures because it seems like a lot of people have interest in Serban and John Haynes and kind of their origin. So these pictures were taken around 2000. And when Serban was first starting off by himself, he had his own rack, a floating rack that you can see in this first picture to his left, that would have his MIDI interface and audio interface and his hard drives and his computer all in it. And when he would come up to Philadelphia or go to any of the studios, he would just throw it in. He had a Jeep Cherokee, throw it in there, take it with him and do his work. And you can see from this picture, he had this stand for the computer monitor. And I think it was a Sound Anchor made that stand because it had the stand and then it had the keyboard in front of it so he could slide it wherever he wanted to. The console in front of him is, I think it's a G Plus SSL. And the only reason he used that is for the volume control going to the monitors. And you'll see in the other pictures, you'll see the ProAx, which he's always used. So that was the first picture. You know, I'm on the left, there's Serban in the middle, and John Haynes is on the right. The next picture is a shot of his workspace where he was at. And when he first started, there was a studio in Virginia Beach called Windmark, and this was their B Room. And Serban started renting out the B Room, and he was paying like a constant fee just to have that room locked out just for him. So you could see the stand with the computer monitor that he would just roll around, and you see his rack. There's a eMagic, a Uniter MIDI interface. There's the SPL machine head. There's some Crane Song piece, an Apogee 88,000, the Glyph drives, and then his computer in the rack. And then you can see the ProAx in front of him, and he had the big tannoys, but his main thing was using those ProAx. But that was the B Room in the studio, and that console, that room, that studio eventually was bought by the Neptunes, and that room was eventually, it turned into Chad Hugo's room. And I had talked him into one of the big 32-channel Icon, the D control consoles. And I got rid of that console. And another video I talk about that, I got like 10 people from the Virginia Beach area to get together, and I bought pizzas for everybody, and we picked up and moved that, and it got shipped off to Vintage King, which, let's talk Vintage King. One hand washes the other. I got him a killer deal on this console, and they got their hand washed, but I'm sitting here with dirty hands. They didn't really reciprocate, and I'm fine with that. But you know what? It's just not the way you do business. But anyways, so that's the B Room, and then the next picture you can see that's the B Room again. There's John Haynes on the left hand side, and you can see the rack from the other side of the room. It wasn't a gigantic room, but it was big enough that Serban could do his work in there, and he was always in there doing the work. At a certain point, I guess that's his knees, Serban's knees on the right hand side. At a certain point, Serban, and he's a really smart guy, he felt the amount of money that he was paying to rent this room, he could have just go buy himself a house and have it just exclusive for him. And that's what he did. He bought a separate house from the house that he lives in. That's kind of close by. It's still in Virginia Beach. And he has a room, and John Haynes has a room, and there's some, I think there's some other guys in there. And it's a really nice big house, but what he was paying for that room paid for the mortgage for the house. So that was very smart of him. Eventually, Windmark was, like I said, was sold to the Neptunes. The Neptunes moved all their stuff in it. They had two studios. He merged the two together. And then eventually, nobody was using the place, and it just went into disrepair. And it just eventually it just got leveled. The whole studio just got, because it was so bad. All the gear was taken out of there. Let's see this next picture. That is John Haynes is like a temporary setup he had. I know he has the Blue Sky speakers, but those weren't permanent. But I may have sold those to him, the 2.1 system, so the subwoofer and the two speakers. But you can see his system right now. If you went to his room and Serban's room, they're identical. But you can see his rack is almost identical to Serban's. He has an 888 in there instead of an apogee. But other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. Even the sound anchor stand that he's using. But this was in another. It wasn't in the B room. There was another. Oh, you know what? This is the live room of the B room. So the other side of those sliding glass doors to the left, if you walk through them, you would see the big SSL that Serban was sitting behind. So the two of them were, they could see each other through the window. And then the next picture I put up, this is the A room from the Windmark studios. And Serban didn't work in there a lot, but just for reference, you can see, I don't know what kind of speakers they had up on the top. They look like Osberger's, but it seems like a different kind of design. They did also have these subwoofers that you put water in them to give them mass. It was some crazy design, but they're supposed to work good. And you can see the racks of gear. They have the Avalons when it was really expensive, their modular stuff, and the Focusrite when they were modular. But that's the A room from the one angle. And then the next picture, I have the A room. So yeah, from the other angle. So you can see the outboard gear, and you can see how big the room was. And they had the machine room off on the left-hand side. And then the last picture I have here is the live room for the A room. So it was a well-designed, well-built studio. It was just a pity that it got leveled. It's not there anymore. So there you go. I hope you find this interesting. I thought I'd add this one last picture that I just came across. And this is taken in the A room at Windmark Studios. And from left to right, there's Serban. Next to him is Phil Ramone. And next to Phil is Michael Marquardt that owns Windmark. And he has some spectacular studios in California right now. And then the studio manager, Skip DeRupa. So that was a nice picture. Very, very early on. This early 2000, maybe 99, around there. So there you go.